Hi, and welcome back to Little Nickel Crafts. Today I want to share with you how to make this adorable animated fox card. And I will be showing you how to do mirror imaging with the new Stamparatus by Stampin' Up. These are adorable stamps by Motion Crafts by Uchi Designs. And I want to show you how to make this, and stay tuned because I will be sharing with you how to enter for our giveaway. So let's start with our card. First, you're going to need your front card, which is 5.5 by 4.25, which is an A2 size. You're going to need your card base, which is your standard 5.5 by 8.5, which is scored at 4 1/4 to give you that A2 size card base. You're going to need a piece that's 5.5 by 6. You'll use that to die cut out your slider mechanism. There's a piece that's 5 1/4 by 4, which you will use for your grid. There's a piece that's 5 by 3 3/4. This is for your stamped image. I like to have this piece so that I can line it up perfectly if I don't stamp exactly in the right place. And a piece of scrap paper. So the first thing you're going to want to do, you can move your card base out of the way, is grab your, you want to grab your 5.5 by 6 inch piece. And we're going to be using Uchi's die set that looks like this. And this is going to create this slider card. So you're going to take the piece that looks like this, and you're going to lay it down. And I like to use washi tape to hold it in place so it doesn't shift on me. And then the piece that looks like this. And you're going to take that and run it through your die cut machine. And you will come up with pieces that look like this. Now this little pink piece is your scrap piece of paper, and they have 3 different options for pull tabs. I like the one with the little arrow. That's the one I've used, but there's one with just a little tiny triangle or plain. It's up to you. But I use the pink, and that will be glued on right there onto that piece. This is going to make your slider. So what you're going to do, there's some perforate or some score lines, and you just fold on those score lines. So that it looks like that when it's all scored. And that is going to slip in to these little notches here. And then that folds around the back, and you tape or glue, glue those down. So I'm going to use some of the great 1/8 inch score tape that Uchi Designs sells. So we're going to find that and just put a little bit up on the top to hold it. It will hold into place. Oops. There we go. Actually came off on my finger. So I put the score tape on there. Again, I want to put this and slip that into those little slots there. Remove that release paper and fold it down so just the tape is attaching to here. You don't want it the full length because we don't want it to interfere with the slide. You'll see in a second here. Now you can see that this is going to slide back and forth, and because of these edges here, it stops it, so it makes it really nice. Uchi's really thought of a lot of things to make this really easy for us. So once we have that done, we're going to want to do the front of our card. Okay, so now we're going to work on our top sheet. So Uchi has made this super easy for you. They've created this little L-shaped piece, and that goes right down at that bottom corner, and I use washi tape to hold it into place, and that will put the slit in your card for your sliding mechanism. So that's creating that little slit right there. So then you can take your sliding mechanism and lay it on top so that you can make sure that the slider is going to be positioned perfectly. And then you center your window in the card, and then you can take this rectangle piece, which is so great because it's got stitching on both sides of your cut line, so that when you are done, you will have a stitched center piece that you can use later on another project. Okay, so I'm going to slip that underneath my slider mechanism and try and center that a little bit so it's right where I want it. And then I have my washi tape, and I'm just going to press that down. And that didn't look like it was very straight, so I'm going to straighten that up. And there we go. So now I'm going to run that through my die cut machine, and I'll be right back. And here's the piece all cut out, ready to go. And there's the inside piece that you can see has that great stitch design that now you can use on another project. So I love that about this die. Okay, so now those two pieces are done. We can put that off to the side. And next we're going to want to cut our grid. That's you take your 5 1/4 by 4 piece size, and you can cut your animated grid if you'd like. Now the other option is they have these great black and white acetate grids that you can use, and that's fine too. But if you want to cut your own, you're welcome to do that with cardstock, which is nice because you can make as many of these as you want. So if you're doing mass producing, this is a great way to go. So you're going to want to lay that down and tape it and run it through your die cut machine, and then you will come up with a piece that looks like this. All you have to do is gently bend the paper, and all those little pieces will fall right out. They're very easy to come out. But you'll notice that this isn't quite long enough. So what we need to do is make this longer. It's not as hard as you would think. So all you have to do is from the back, you will see as you line this up that there are little holes right here along the side, and you can see those holes, and as long as those holes line up, you will get a great match, and it will die cut perfectly, and you can lengthen it. That might not, I might want to move that down a little bit so I have a really long. Okay, so there we go. And I have my washi tape on the back. I'm just going to stick that down and run that through my machine. Once you do, then you will have your grid that looks like this. And what I do at this point is I lay my grid on the back, so I make sure that it's not too far up. You don't see that border, but you just see the grid, and I make sure that it's straight. And then I use my pencil. Oops, here we go. Make sure that's straight. And I'm just going to make some little marks around the edges so that I have that taken care of. And I'm just going to mark on the side here because you'll notice that it goes way down here and it's up higher here. So I'm just going to draw a little line on the inside, and that gives me the area where I need to cut for my grid. So I'll do that and I'll be right back. Okay, so now that I have my two pieces, I'm ready to put this on the back. I really like this 1/8 inch tape that Uchi Designs sells in their online store. And so I'm just going to run that around. This 1 inch size is so nice and thin that you can get these little areas with no problem. So I'm going to just line that. And we'll take off the release paper. Oops. Try from the other end. There we go. And then I can lay this down. Now there is kind of a more smooth side and a rough side. I like to have the smooth side so that that will be what the people see, and the rough side is at the back. So I'm going to lay that on there. But you'll see that there's just a little bit of shine from the tape there, and we don't want that to stick to our image and prevent it from sliding. So this is an anti-static powder tool that you can get, and I just rub that along the edge. If you don't happen to have one of these for your when you do embossing, you can actually use cornstarch and rub that along there, and that will prevent any of that extra stickiness from sticking to your paper. So now I've got my grid on there, and if I want to, I can put my little thing in here and test it out, and it slides just fine. So that's done. Now for the mirror image stamp. I'm going to use this tool that is by Stampin' Up. It's called the Stamparatus. The Misty would work just as good, and I've taken my image and I've lined it so it's going straight up and down, so I have a good impression. So now what I want to do is I'm going to start by doing my mirror image first. Stampin' Up has these great silicone craft sheets. What I like about that is you can kind of see through it. So what I do is I put my silicone sheet down and I ink up my little fox. So we're gonna stamp them up, ink them up really good, and then we're gonna take this piece that's 5 by 3 3/4. Well, first we're gonna stamp onto the silicone mat, and I'm gonna do that 3 times. The reason is, if I only do it once, when I go to transfer it, it doesn't always come through very dark. But if I have the stamping tool, I know that every time I ink this up, it is going to get in the exact same place, and I am going to have a perfect image. So now you can see that it's stamped on there. Now I can put my piece of paper in there that's my 5 by 3 3/4, and I can lay that down, and I'm going to use a brayer to really rub that down and make sure that it's on there good. And then when I take it up, sure enough, a perfect impression. There we go. Now I need to do the mirror on the other side. And as you can see, I've already kind of tested that. If it didn't match up quite right, I could always clean this off, move it over, lay it down where I want to, and then pick it up with my plate. But I've already made sure this lined up. So again, I need to ink this up and press down. And when I do, now I have my mirror image little foxes. And when it's in there, you can see, oops, sorry about that, you can see that their heads wobble perfectly. So that's great. Now, I think I want to add a little bit more from this great stamp set. There's so much that they've added with this. You have the little grass, and you have some hearts. So I'm going to take the grass, put it on my block, and we're going to stamp some grass right by where their feet is. Okay, and then we can put in a little heart. In fact, I think I'm going to use the little heart this time and do it a couple of times. So we'll get our red ink out. We'll put a little heart right above them, and again above them again. So there's a couple of little hearts. In fact, I'm going to try and line that up, fix that a little bit. There we go. So now I've got my little animation, and I can even color in that little grass. So I'm going to do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, and so there is my colored grass and the hearts, and I think this will just make it look really cute. So now we need to put that onto our card base. So here's our card base, but we want to make sure that this is going to line up. So I'm going to actually take out my grid and lay this piece on here and move it to exactly where I want it to stay. So now that I know that that's where I want it, I can remove this piece, and see, I went over quite a bit, but that's okay. I can just mark that with my pencil, and then I'm going to use my ATG tape gun, and now I can place that in the exact right place, and I can trim off this extra that I don't need anymore. And now that will be placed perfectly on my card, and I'm happy with the way that turned out. Okay, so now we're ready for the assembly. Now this piece we want to attach to the card so it stays in place and this can slide. So in order to do that, again, we're going to use this great 1/8 inch score tape and put some of that right along the bottom here and right along this. And there you go. Now, when I put this on, I'm going to do the back first. So I'm going to take off the release paper. And I want to make sure that that's pretty much centered in my card. And I want to make sure that the grid is right where I want it so that it's lined up perfectly. And then I'm going to press down on that. And now my piece will slide perfectly. I notice that's a little bit ski-wampus, so I'm just going to pick it up really quick and move it up just a little bit. Okay, there we go. So now you can see that that's going to slide with no problem. And if we put our little thing in there, sure enough, you can see it is perfect. So now we just have to attach this to here. So now we need to put this together. I did not have any of Uchi's great 1/8 inch foam tape. All I could find is this 1/4 inch tape. So what I found was a nice trick is this is just press and seal. And I took a piece and I put it down on there so it wasn't sticky on that side, and then I could cut it in half with no problem. I didn't have to fight with the adhesive sticking to my tape, and then that will pull right off. So that's what I did, and I put a strip up at the top. Cut off my excess. And down the two sides, making sure not to get your pull slider stuck in there. And I can cut that off. And with these extra pieces, I can get those on. So now I'm going to just do a little bit more here. As you can see, I could cut really easily through that to get the rest of this piece. Okay, so now all I have to do is take off the release on these, on everything. Got all that. And don't forget this bottom one. Slip this little slider through there and line this up as best I can. Oops. And there you go. There's your slider card. And then you can decorate it however you want. Now on here, I did it with a white grid. But you can also do it with the brown grid. And that works too. Depends on what you want to do and what you like the best. I could have even used this hot pink color if I wanted to. That would have worked too. Whatever works best for you and what you like the best. So there's lots of options. Then I can just decorate this however I want. When I did my sample, I used this Love, Love, Love that's in this stamp set and just added a few pearls. You could do a border here and say you're so sweet or hello friend. There's all sorts of options. So let's talk about the giveaway. I have a great giveaway for you, and this is sponsored by Uchi Designs, and it's this great stamp set that is the rainbow and the sun and the clouds and the little mouse, and it's got the sayings that says, "You are my sunshine, and when it rains, look for rainbows." Really cute. And the die set that I featured today. So in order to win this, I need you to comment on my channel and subscribe, and I would appreciate a thumbs up too. Okay, so now I'd like to share with you a few of the cards that I made using the same die set. So this is one of their new stamp sets. This is the little frog, and you can see he's jumping up and down with joy. The little tag that is one of the stamps in the set says, "Don't worry, be hoppy." And I just thought this was darling to see him hopping up and down. So I made that one, and then I did a bear hug one. So here's our bear, and you can see he's ready to give out some hugs. I just thought this was really cute, would be darling to give to someone who's down, or maybe even a Valentine card, or a card for your sweetheart. Then I wanted to show you that you could do the same thing, but with the vertical dies. So you can see here that I did that with the vertical. Now I did this twice. I did it once with the colored grid, and then I did it again with the white grid, so you could see the difference. It's just personal preference what you wanted to do. And I like both of them, so that just shows you that you can also do it with the vertical stamp sets that they have. This is a little bit older. It's not one of their newest releases, but I still really like it. And in this set, there's a thank you and an I love you. Definitely worth checking out. And then lastly, but not least, is this one. It's probably my favorite one. It's with their new stamp set that has the sun and the rain clouds. And this is the one that we'll be giving away in the giveaway, so you too could win this. And as you can see, look at how cute that is. Now you see that I used the actual printed grid instead of using a die cut for this one, but I noticed that the sun in the background was a little hard to see, so I just took a pencil and I outlined all the different pieces so that when I moved it, it was a little easier to see. And then when you open this up, voila, there is the rainbow. So that is really fun. So you can have both. And you'll notice that this is on the left side instead of the right side. And all I did is after I die cut this piece, and it came out. I just flipped it. So it was facing this way instead of this way, and it works just the same. So if there's any of these cards that you'd like me to demonstrate how to do and do a video on, leave it in the comments and I will try to do that for you. And stay tuned, because I will also be having another video showing the double slider card, where you can slide up here and down here. And I've got some fun samples there too. So be sure to subscribe, turn on your notifications, and we hope to see you back on my next video. Thanks so much. Bye.